Hello BookTube, welcome back to my 2026 library tour. Today I'm going to start with the poet Duo. He's a contemporary Chinese poet whose work was recently published in a new and selected collection by Yale University Press through their Margellus World Republic of Letters series. The book is Words as Grain, and it's translated from the Mandarin by Lucas Klein, who also edits the volume. This volume is not dual language, so it's only the English translation. I picked this up a few years ago, and I want to revisit it. I'm not too happy with my last reading of this collection. A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. This is a novel in short stories. It won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction a few years ago, and I have some unfinished business with this novel. Well, this is getting annoying. I think next year's library tour, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear the shelves and take them to a table or something. Anyway, next is The Furies by Moira Egan. This is a slim volume of poetry from Louisiana State University Press. I picked it up a few months ago when LSU had their yearly 40% off sale, and I have not read it yet, but I mean to get to this collection probably next week. The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. This is about two cousins who don't quite see eye to eye at the end, or two siblings who don't quite come to see eye to eye at the end of the day. I have been struggling with this novel for about 20 years, and I still have unfinished business with it. Middlemarch, also by George Eliot. One of these days I will get to this novel. One of these days. Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. This is his debut novel. He wrote it when he was a student, and is about a college student returning home to Los Angeles over the course of the Christmas break, and I think it's freshman year at university. And the sort of desolation that his life is, and his friend group is. It's been a while since I read it. I also have Ellis's second novel, The Rules of Attraction, which is set at that university. And while it doesn't really feature the protagonist from the first novel, does include a number of people who are familiar with him. Invisible Man by Rolf Ellison. This is a modern classic of American literature. It's about a young African American who struggles to find his place in the world and increasingly bizarre adventures. Um, I read this novel about 20 years ago, and then it left my collection, and I just recently re-added it to my collection in this edition. Dex Newburyport by Lucy Ullman. This is a weird, massive novel about a nameless narrator who was an academic who has since gone into home baking, and the novel is told from her perspective through her thoughts, which are mostly tangential lists, but every now and then there are hints of her past and of her present, and there is, throughout the novel, something of a plot that slowly develops. And of course, the tangential thoughts of the narrator reveal her character. So, this novel was over time a struggle. I have tried it 3 times, and on my most recent attempt, I did succeed at reading it and really enjoyed it. I'm very happy that I persevered, even if it did take me several years to do so. Claude Before Time and Space by Claudia Emerson. This is a collection of poetry. I think this might be her final collection. I did not particularly get on with it, although it has been some time since I last read it, so I maybe need to revisit it at some point. The Complete Poems of Enheduanna, translated by Sophus Hele. So this is a collection of Enheduanna's poetry. Enheduanna was a priestess of the moon god Sin or Nana. I think it would have been Sin in Uruk. And she wrote a number of poems that have survived. Have not gotten around to this book yet, though, and it is published by Yale University Press. Actress by Anne Enright. Have not gotten around to this yet. I picked this up a few months ago. You Dreamed of Empires by Alvaro Enrique, translated from the Spanish by Natasha Wimmer. So this is a historical novel that looks at the conquest of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, by the Spanish conquistadors led by Hernan Cortez. The Plague of Doves by Louise Erdrich. This was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize a number of years ago. Have not gotten around to it. I just recently added it to my collection. Go Went Gone by Jene Erpenbeck, translated from the German by Susan Bornowski. This is an earlier work of Erpenbeck's that I recently added to my collection. I also have her more recent novel, Kairos, which is translated by Michael Hoffman, again from the German. This is about a woman who has an affair with an older man and that relationship going sour. It won the Booker International Prize 2 years ago and was also shortlisted, I think, for the National Book Award in Translated Literature. Um, I had a go at this about going on 2 years ago, and I didn't get on with it, but I do want to revisit this novel soon. Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, winner of the Booker Prize in 2019 and shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2020. So this is a novel about a group of women and I think a non-binary individual, or possibly trans men. I don't quite remember which, and how they interact and how some of those interactions are positive, some are negative, and they all come together, or many of them come together at a premiere for a play that one of the main characters or one of the ensemble has written, and it's really good. I read it a few years ago and really quite enjoyed it. Next are a bunch by Percival Everett, starting with Erasure. This is about an author who tries a literary experiment. Really would like to revisit this. I haven't particularly gotten on with Percival Everett's work. I also have Telephone by him, which is something kind of like, I think, that movie with Liam Neeson, where his daughter's kidnapped, or his daughter and wife are kidnapped, and he has to go after them. I think this is kind of like that. But I do need to also revisit this novel as well, because I didn't really get too far in. And I also want to revisit The Trees, which is about a group of detectives trying to figure out who is murdering racists and leaving corpses of brutalized African American men who bear a certain resemblance to Emmett Till. Next is Adam and Void by Aaron Fagan. This is a slim volume of poetry. It is one of the two most recent works published by the Princeton Series of Contemporary Poets. I read this collection yesterday, and I liked it. So the next two are by William Faulkner, starting with The Sound and the Fury. This is probably his most well-known work. It's about the decline and fall of the Compson family, who were a prominent family in Faulkner's fictional Jefferson and Yacunapanapa County. I also have As I Lay Dying, which is about a much poorer family, the Bundrens, making a trip to Jefferson to bury the matriarch of the family, and all hell breaking loose. I think I would like to have more Faulkner in my collection. So next is Stars in My Eyes by Edward Field. Edward Field is a poet. This collection is largely about movies, and it is really good. I also have his selected collection, Counting Myself Lucky, which collects poems from 1963 to 1992. And this is a really good collection. It's been a very long time since I last read it, though. I've had this collection for about 20 years, or over 20 years. Next is Glance by Chanda Feldman. So this is a slim volume of poetry that I picked up from LSU Press at the end of last year, and I read it in February. And I didn't get on with it as well as I would have liked. Head Off and Split by Nikki Finney. This is a collection of poetry, won the National Book Award. I still haven't quite gotten on with Finney's work. I've read this collection once or twice, and it really hasn't done much for me, but I might come back to it at some point. Next is Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. So this is, I think, Foer's debut novel. It's about a young man going to Ukraine to research his family history and the adventures he has with a young man who serves as his tour guide. I have much unfinished business with this novel. So the next batch of books are by Alice Bremen, who is one of my favorite poets. First is the Book of the Rotten Daughter, which is a collection of her poetry I read last week and recently hauled, and it is really good. Perhaps my favorite collection of Fremen's is the first one I read by her, The View from Saturn, this is fantastic. So much of Fremen's most recent work has been published by Louisiana State University Press. I also really like Blood Weather. This is also really good. And her most recent work is On the Overnight Train, New and Selected Poems. Okay. Next is Mythos, the Greek Myths Retold by Stephen Fry. So this is the first volume in a trilogy. Mythos focuses on myths about the gods, and then there's one about the heroes. And then the third one is, I think, about the Iliad and the Odyssey. And this is really just the only one I want. Stephen Fry retells the story of the Greek gods in a very humorous style that I quite enjoy, although it has been quite some time since I read it. And this is one of the books I picked up from Book Depository. I think maybe one of the first. Returning to poetry. This is Portal by Tracy Fuad from the University of Chicago Press. It's part of the Phoenix Poet series. I don't remember getting on with this collection all that well, but I would like to revisit it. And finally, the last book on this shelf, The Promise by Damon Galgut. This won the Booker Prize in 2021 and is a novel set in South Africa where a family of white South Africans struggle with the consequences of a broken promise to a longtime black servant. So I've been meaning to read this novel for a while, and I recently added it to my collection just a few months ago. I'm really looking forward to getting to it. So that wraps up that shelf. So I have one more shelf for this bookcase, which I will do tomorrow, and then there will be 2 more weeks of fiction, poetry, and drama. So look forward to that, and I will see you later with more videos. So until then, BookTube, thank you, and have a great morning.